Mini Farrah is getting her Magnum 500s, finally. So I had to buy a Johnny Lightning car. Hey, don't claw the couch, cat. I had to buy a Johnny Lightning car, which I had to buy the Torino.
Right.
We had to get the Torino in order to get... the cat is totally ruining our video. So anyway, I had to buy a Johnny Lightning Torino so that I could get the Magnum 500s. Look how cute those are. Tell me they're not the cutest thing ever. So the Torino that I had to rob the white letter tires off of it because you look, they're a lower profile tire. And the Torino had taller tires with white walls. They're actually white walls on the other side. And here's the white wall tire. The white wall tire, the cat's being a pain in the butt. So there's the white wall tire. So I was gonna put it back on, and I realized that, well, you know, it kind of looks a little donkey.
Right.
But the Torino's kind of lost its tires, so now this Torino has been sacrificed for its tires, and the later model Torino is a Torino. Yeah. So there's the axle in there, and so it fits in there. And then I have to just put the little Magnum 500s on the axle. I think it's the right hub size for the Magnum 500. Should just pop in right now real easy. And it does. Look at that. There it is on the axle. That's got the later model Torino hubs. Look how cute that is.
That is cute.
Totally awesome. Now, Mini Farrah is going to be correct in every aspect.
So, Magnum 500s.
So I had to spend $13, whole $13, to sacrifice a Johnny Lightning Torino, because I looked at a bunch of them, and it's hard to find a Magnum 500 on those cars. It's just almost impossible to find them, but they make them.
Yeah.
There's our little axle, so our axle will pop in there. And look at that's gonna be. You get the idea. Oh my God, is that not gonna be awesome or what, Gail?
Oh, I can't wait till it's together.
So now let's get the other axle ready. Put the Magnums on the front. Plus, it's got the same 60 series tires. So it's funny, we're getting Magnum 500s. And we're getting a set of tires that are a 60 series, because that's what the Polara has on it, is 60 series tires.
Right.
I actually did some work to the little hub. There's a little piece of plastic that sticks up. They didn't quite do like a nice finish to make the tire in there, but you can see now they sit in there pretty nicely.
Yeah, they do.
Look how cute those are. Oh,
yeah, that's just adorable.
So now we have our axles ready. So I just have to lift this one out very carefully, because it has to come out in order to get the axle out. I have to bend this very, very slightly so the axle will pop out. And there it is. Look at that. Because this was a Bill Maverick car.
Right.
So he had slicks. Look at this little setup. Got slickies on the back, and then little drag radials on the front, little drag wheels. So and that's that. And then we just pop this. It should just pop right back in, I'm thinking. I have to trim a little bit of plastic off the inside of this hub here,
Okay.
because it doesn't look like it's gonna fit in right now. So I'm gonna have to trim off some of this plastic, because the axle's not wide enough. Come back to part 2 in a second before I'll trim some of this off.
Okay.
I get a sharp razor now.
Okay.
Look at that. There they are. Now the interior holds the rear axle in the car. So the interior has to be back in the car. So when you mount, look at that. Look how cool that is. Oh my God. So now we put the body back on. And what I'll have to do is I'll glue the rivets back on, because we have to drill the rivets out of this to make this work. Boy, there's just enough clearance, Gail. I mean, just enough clearance. Yeah, see, this piece has to be pushed back down in there.
Right.
I actually didn't. Oh, that's just wonderful. Look at that. interior is, something's not working right here now. So this is supposed to hold the axle in place. Because when you push it back up in there, it should hold push the axle. See, the axle's not sitting right here. Let's see what's going on here. Because it's got, the tires are so wide that it's, I don't think it's actually sliding over far enough to clear the wheel well.
How's it going, babe?
And it's going. The axle's slightly too wide and the tires are too wide. So every time I put the body back on, they don't want to roll. They want to hit.
Right.
So what I got to do is I got to be able to pull the wheels in a little tighter. And I can't because the axle's just too wide in order to make the big meats fit. They have to, once you put the body back on, then it's too wide in the back. Out right now because it rolls without that. I could glue the because the rivet's drilled out, so you can't really rivet it back on again. So I'm just working on figuring out if I got to shorten the axle or I got to trim out some of the wheel well, just like the old days, you know, doing the same crap.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it for a little tiny car because I'd like it to roll. I mean, if it's gonna be like a Johnny Lightning,
Right.
I want it to roll. It has to fit in right because the bumper will not fit in the body correctly because it's mounted to the chassis of the car.
Right.
So it's a lot of work to make a little tiny miniature copy
Right.
of your own car. All the time you have to spend to get it to fit. And the rivet doesn't want to cooperate because the wheels are too wide. That's the problem. They're too wide. So it looks cool, but they won't roll because the wheel well is too big. Yeah, I'm gonna have to shorten the axle is the only thing I could think of. Then the tires will slide in together farther.
Okay. Well, we'll check back with you in a little bit.
All right, yeah, that'd be good. Body is touching. It's kind of shifted a little bit. It's not perfectly, if you look, it's not perfectly centered because it was made that way.
Oh, okay.
So there's no way to, well, that's kind of stinky. So that wheel doesn't really roll. Now I've shortened the axle. Unless, I mean, I can't shorten the axle anymore because the tire's too wide, it hits. So what's the only other option?
Well,
Dremel the inside of the wheel well out so that it literally the tire clears, because otherwise it's not going to really roll. Creative here and then lift the back up a little bit. How would I do that? Oh, we're getting in some major shit here now. I might as well put a 440 in it with a 5-pack, you know?
So you're filing it down, B.
I'm narrowing the rear, and then I gotta shorten the axles. I gotta, just like you do when you're tubbing a car out, right? Same exact thing. All this just to make this car, well, you know what I mean? If it doesn't roll,
Right.
what good is it? It's not gonna be. It has to roll. And, you know, I mean, like most people just put it back together and the wheel wouldn't spin, but I'm not doing that. I want it to literally be.
Well, we want it to roll because that's how we roll.
Yeah, right. I want it to roll. Literally a one-off thing.
Yep.
And I'm pretty good. I'm almost there.
Super.
I narrowed it enough, I think, that when I shorten the axle, there should be enough space for the wheels to roll in the car.
Cool.
And then
we'll be back in business.
Yeah, and then we'll be ready to go.
All right, super.
So what I had to do in order to make the back rear wheels roll is I had to do like this, what you do with cars. I had to narrow the rear a little bit. So right here, I had to take a file and very carefully file out this space where the rear is sticking out because it would make the tire hit the wheel well. And I didn't want to grind this out with a Dremel. I wanted to do it like you do a real car. Build it right. So I narrowed the rear by filing this down, and then I took the wheel off and I cut the axle down. Shorten the axles and narrow the rear gale. So now there's enough room for the tires to spin.
Super.
So Isn't that something?
Isn't that something? Let's see her roll,
Yeah.
Brad.
So now she rolls. And that's how we do it, right, Gail?
That is absolutely how we do it. All right.